Hi. Hi. So, where is the game? Wait, can you? Okay, there. I was like, I can see the game on the obvious preview, but I cannot see the game on the stream preview. I'm like, what was that about? That scared me. The thing is, when I turned on the PC, like, it took a lot for it to start working, and after that, all the apps, like, you know, in the lower bar, they weren't there, so I have to restart the PC for everything to work again properly. I bought this PC to avoid having problems, and I'm already having problems. This is fine. Anyways, let me pause the music, and as the title says, let's say how, you know, let's see how, not very legally, Madarame keeps treating Towa. Pretty colors. Sketches. Load. This is the right file, right? It should be. I don't recognize the color. Load. Yes. Is it the right one? Yeah. Okay. My dude has been kidnapped and is chained to the building and almost cut his neck with a piece of glass. Not very nice behavior right there. Anyways, let me put this. Once the sun had risen high in the sky, Madarame headed out somewhere. Naturally, I wasn't informed of the details. Forcing my fuzzy brain to cooperate, I just slowly looked around the empty room. The lack of food and water made my body feel heavy. Nothing much except a half-broken bed, chairs, and a table. The table was littered with food, drinks, and other commodities. Eventually, Madarame brought these things in from outside. I looked at the water bottle and swallowed reflexively. Oh yeah, I need to put this up, the volume. But the walls of my esophagus stuck together, making me cough. I was now dangerously thirsty, but nevertheless I refused to drink the water. I reached out to rub my neck, and my fingers touched the collar. No, it's my throat, the one that is feeling kind of bad. This is fine. This was the only one thing truly keeping me prisoner, and yet I had lost the will to remove it. A scab had formed over the cut I had given myself when I was sewing the collar with a glass shard. He is not very okay. It felt like something was stuck in my throat. My body craved water. Apparently, water was more vital than food. I know what's coming. Loki, it's very funny. But I didn't want to drink Madarame's city water. I didn't want him to see that I have accepted something from him. Started dying fast. I mean, I think it's the second day and he hasn't drink or eat at all. So 2 days without water is not very nice. Maybe I could drink the plumbing water. Maybe then he wouldn't be able to tell. With one hand against the wall, I rose to my feet and headed my leaden legs into the bathroom. I twisted the knob and after a pause, water trickled out. I cupped it in both hands, brought it to my mouth and drank. Sorry, exactly. Also, remember that he came out of Equina's Euphoria episode just recently, kind of. So, he probably is not at his fullest. It tasted so good, it felt like it single-handedly breathed life back into every cell in my body. Straight on by my throat. It hurts for some reason, even though I have drink water before starting the stream. Spurred on by my biological needs, I pressed my lips to the hobbit and drank. Never before had I enjoyed water this much. I drank until I was satisfied, then turned the knob to stop the stream. Then I sat right there and stared at the floor. The water must have helped me recover because after a while, intense rage welled in my gut. He's very pissed off again. Getting my teeth, I grabbed my collar with both hands and tugged hard. I knew it wouldn't come off, but I couldn't fight the impulse. After I dug my nails into the leather over and over, I grabbed the chains and pulled as hard as I could. Compulsively, like an injured animal, I felt like my life depended on it. In the end, by the time I finally wore myself out, my fingernails had torn. That sounds painful. Ouch. Breathing heavily, I looked idly at my bloody fingers like they were someone else. Strangely enough, I couldn't feel the pain. Maybe my senses had gone numb. Ow. Once I caught my breath, the silence came rushing back. Here, in the empty room, the void of sound engulfed me. In my fear, as my fears swelled, I couldn't bear to stay quiet. A choking sound escaped from the back of my throat. Then I grabbed my complete leaf. Oh yeah, that's something that happens. I forgot about this part, like completely. Like completely. Okay. Do I have to censor? Let me put the censor. I don't think. Let me mute the game. This was all I could do. I could think to do to distract myself from the silence. Why not? I guess. Legit forgot this part happened. Maybe because it is super out of nowhere. Okay, nothing was shown, but just in case. Yep, and he just finished. I'm not showing that. It's the same hands, but with an extra. I'm not showing that. Okay, I think it should be done. I didn't even care if Madarame walked in on me. Oh yeah, there is one part that if it happens today, I will have to censor extremely fast, because unlike other scenes in which there is one CG before everything gets worse, this one it already starts showing everything, so I have to be careful. I had nothing to hide at this point. If anything, I was more afraid of the silence crushing me. Fortunately, Sled could grant me a reprieve from all of that. Wait, there are kids being extremely noisy outside. Why? What the fuck? I'm worried for a jump scare. I will try to be careful. Embracing the lethargy that settled over me, I waited for the Sandman to visit. I need to be careful. Unfortunately, he didn't show up. Instead, I rose to my feet and walked to the window. Freed from the last, my body felt a little lighter. It's 40 years instantly by yelling. Take it to be quiet. Shut up, I won't do that. I gazed out at the cloudy city through the empty window frame. What part of District 8 was I in? I couldn't hear any pedestrians of traffic. Apparently we were in a really dilapidated section, far from where the dispatched fighters mill around. The Takasatogumi had erected a barrier around it so no one would mistakenly wander in. In these parts, large cracks split the streets and buildings, some of which were on the verge of collapse. But the deathmatch fighter had no interest in exploring. Listening to the whistle of the wind and the miscellaneous clicking sounds, I stared blankly into the distance. Can you hear music? Because aside, can you hear music from the game right now? Or is it quiet? Because I can't hear anything. No? Okay, maybe there is music in this part. Probably because I was complaining about the silence. I'm just worried. Because of the problems I had with the game, with it bugging a bit weirdly. Just then I hear footsteps approaching. Oh no. Reflexively, I concealed myself, then peered out again. Carefree voices echoed off the building. Maybe there were deathmatch fighters, or maybe they were Takasato-kun. Then the men's voices faded into the distance, until I could no longer hear them. Okay, thanks. I guess. I pressed my back against the wall and exhaled slowly, as I slid down into a sitting position. I need to be careful for the Madarame jump scare. Today was day 4, most likely. By this point, it was all starting to blur together. It's a bit cropped. Oh yeah, there is a reason why. They have added that thing, and I don't know what that is. I have cropped it out because I have no idea what is that supposed to mean. I think if you like the video, it moves or something like that. I can't press it. I think it's you guys, because I cannot see it over here. I think it's something like if you like the video, it will move or something like that. Oh, so yeah, I can hear the music now. Did it move? Yeah. It's moving. Hold on. Oh, too late, but I saw it moving. I guess you like the video. Why? I'm trying to show it. There. There it goes. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it's there. It reminds me a lot of TikTok, so I'm not sure if I like it. React button, I see. I still hadn't eaten anything, so my body remained deeply fatigued. Times like this, I was surprised to discover I was actually capable of feeling hungry. My appetite was usually so light, I scarcely ever noticed it. Ironic that Madarame, of all people, had made me discover the true value of life. I wanted to laugh, but the most I managed was a faint half smirk. With no strength to move, I lay there on the dusty floor. The icy concrete penetrated down to my bones, making my extremities go numb. I still hadn't touched the foot of water Madarame got for me. He walked over to me and used his foot to prod my shoulder. It's coming. Not the part I have to censor, but the funny thing. I let him roll me onto my back. Wait, I have... No, it's not.
本当に呆れるほど強情だな。
Need to be careful. Just in case. I was too tired to even part my chapel lips. He let out a frustrated sigh, then crouched down.
何が欲しい?
What do I want? My dull, fuzzy brain was unable to process this. I stared back at him vacantly. I felt like I was in a moody stupor. You can barely hear his voice. Oh my god. My voice was so harsh, I slurred my words, but apparently he could still parse it. He stood up, walked to the table, grabbed something, and walked back. He was holding a pack of cigarettes, a lighter, and a bottle of booze. He crouched down, put a cigarette between his lips, lit it, and took a quick drag. Then, as a tiny thread of smoke rose from the tip, he pinched it between his fingers and held it out to my mouth. Deep down, I craved nicotine so bad it hurt, but I refused to accept his charity, so I turned my head away. He grabbed me by the jaw and stuffed the cigarette between my lips. Started, I breathed in deeply and choked. After going without for so long, the nicotine was intense, and it felt like my throat was going numb. What do you do to your cat? But once I had a taste, I couldn't stop. After I caught my breath, I took a good long drag. It was still too intense, an agreement, but I could feel the smoke filling every inch of my body. To me, this was more satisfying than any food or drink. Next, Madarame set a bottle of booze down.
No, man.
It's coming. That was when my stubbornness kicked in again. With the cigarette between my lips, I pointedly averted my gaze, even though I wanted to chunk the whole thing.
しょうがねえな。
Glancing his tongue, he grabbed the bottle and took a swing. Holding the flame in his mouth, he grabbed me by my jaw and pulled me close. Let's go bird feeding. The cigarette fell down from my lips as he forced his onto them. Lukewarm alcohol flowing in through the gap in my teeth but in my throat. After he confirmed that I swallowed it all, he took another swing. Then he kissed me again. Let's go. Again and again, he filled my mouth with booze and I drank it down. With every swallow, fluid trickling from the corners of my mouth. Like the cigarette, this was my first taste of alcohol in days. At first, it felt like it was swelling my organs, but gradually it started to feel good. After my empty swallowed, Madarame finally pulled away. It's short.
なあ、お前死にたいのか？
He asked me in a low voice as he gazed into my eye.
今のままより死んだ方がマシだ。ダメだ。
He denied me flatly.
勝手に死ぬのは許さない。死ぬか。
I tried to sneer, but my lips barely twitched. He regarded my silence for a moment, then picked up the pastry still lying and walked nearby. He tore it open, took a bite, then grabbed my jaw all over again. Here we go again. Obviously, I wasn't expecting this, so my reaction was delayed. In a blink, he pressed his lips to mine. Is this effective too? He used his tongue to weld the bait of food into my mouth. I tried to spit it out, but his hands held my head in place. The moment the flavor hit my tongue, I became intensely hungry. My jaw started to chew, and I swallowed it. I swallowed in spite of myself. As soon as he pulled his lips away, I turned my head and started coughing hard. I wanted to spit the food out, but it was too late. On the contrary, my body was now screaming at me for more nutrients. Instead of towards Madarame. It's so funny. Okay. Madarame took another bite and kissed me again. Unable to fight my body's intense desire to survive, I could only let it happen. It was still haunting my jaw, but I chewed and swallowed it obediently. Worst of all, I could feel my body rejoicing. He let go of my face and handed me the rest of the pastry.
食えよ。
With that, he straightened up and walked into the bedroom. I watched him go, then laid himself down on the floor. I laid myself down on the floor. My eyes shifted from the bottle of food to the still burning cigarette to the half-eaten pastry in my hand. Frankly, I wanted all of it. I wanted to eat and drink and smoke to my heart's content. Never before had I desired something as strongly as I did now. Clearly, my body was in survival mode, desperate to avoid starvation. But even then, I still didn't want to accept Madarame into my life. So I closed my eye and shut him out. So damn disgusted. Who are you talking about? What are you talking about? I awoke to the feeling of being shaken. Do I have to censor now?
おい、起きろ。
Do I have to censor? Once Madame confirmed that I was conscious, he grabbed me by my arm and held me up. Standing at the living, I followed after him as he walked across the room. Do I have to? Okay, no, it's the shower scene. This is fine. We arrived at the bathroom. Then he showed me into the shower stall. I think it was fine. I nearly fell onto my ass, but got myself against the wall in the nick of time. Meanwhile, he ripped my clothes out as a cascade of cold water rained down from the shower head affixed to the wall. To be fine. There is... I don't think in this game... I don't think there is a bad one. In that sense. Look at the marks of the collar, man. I was already freezing cold, so I flinched. But as the water gradually warmed up, my numb extremities began to tingle. With the stream of water at my back, I looked around. Madarame was standing outside the shower store with his arms folded.
しっかり洗えよ。
Okay.
汚れたら洗う。汚れる前に洗う。そういうものだろ。
But we don't talk about that game, okay? And it was more of a bath scene. Is this? Apparently he wanted to give me a bath as if I really was his pet dog or something. What a joke. I suppressed a laugh. It was just so absurd for both of us. The uncle rose up with the lather. Then I glared at him beneath my sopping wet bangs. I did not feel like playing his little game. He's going to try and fight back. I held my hand into a fist and looked at him. You have no strength whatsoever, even now that you haven't barely eaten for like almost a week now. But my sin was too weak to connect, and Madarame dodged easily before shifting content. And did nothing, yeah. His feet saw like a bullet into my face, and I hit the wall behind me.
ああ、悪い。つい反射で手が出た。
This is not very legal, sir. His tone was casual, and I could tell he wasn't sorry at all.
お前本当に力が入らないんだな。ふざけてるわけじゃないんだよな。
As he spoke, he reached out and grabbed me by my neck. Yay! As I slammed against the wall with my knees bent, he tipped my head upwards. Then he removed my eye patch. There was a dark red stain on the underside. I must have started bleeding when he punched me. Yeah, this one is fine.
あの時か。
There is no pee-pee, so it should be fine. He reached out and pried my empty eyelid open without hesitation.
眼球はないのか。
It wasn't on purpose though. He examined the socket thoughtfully, then let go.
なぜ隠す？隠す必要はないだろ
う。When I didn't answer, he cackled.
まあいい。洗ってやる。
Why not? That's something. Does something happen without a CG in here or not? I can't remember. Shackle. I'm trying. The next thing I knew, he was holding a bar of soap. He rubbed it directly against my head to create a lather. Sound. Shackle. Like that? Shackle. English be hard.
やめろ。うるさい。
I struggled to escape, but he grabbed my head with both hands and started washing my hair. As the drone of the water and lady sounds echoed in the stall, I determined that my resistance was futile and fell still. Madarame lathered my hair until he was satisfied, then moved my head under the stream of water. Water streamed into my face. Then I squeezed my eyes shut. I don't have to censor, right? I don't remember a shower CG in this route, aside from the one that we just saw. Sweet too. He can let the pet get dirty, I guess. After he reached my hair, he moved out of the water stream. When he pressed the bar of soap against my bare chest, I screamed as it brushed my scars, but immediately he wasn't doing this to me. He moved from my chest to my stomach, then down my groin. After he washed my legs, he grabbed my shoulder and turned me around, then started on my back. He's so annoyed. It felt so deeply bizarre to have Madarame wash my body. I couldn't decipher what he was thinking, and his behavior made no sense. I knew this was just who he was, but it still left me Why so many words? I don't know the meaning of or how to read. I guess he's surprised or confused.
よし
He moved me under the water to reset me off, then stopped the stream. I have no idea. Good to see not the only one that is very confused. Next, he grabbed the towels sitting fluid on the counter and handed it to me.
着替えはそこだ
He jerked his chin to indicate the white shirt that was beneath the towel, then left the bathroom. Holding the towel, I stood blankly in the shower stall for a few moments. I still couldn't quite process it. Madarame was a man who played by his own rules, and in the time since I had last seen him, he sincerely hadn't changed a bit. Was he this weird before? While I rudely dried myself off, Madarame headed out somewhere. Then, a few hours later, as the sky beyond the window began to turn dark, I sat against the wall, drifting in and out of consciousness. I hadn't touched Madarame's offerings, and I was unusually sleepy, possibly my body trained to conserve its energy. There was a loud noise. I opened my eye. I may have to censor. No. The door opened and footsteps approached. I caught a whiff of blood. Madarame walked up to me, grabbed my arm and held me up. As I rose to my feet, I glared at him. But then I sensed something alarming in his demeanor and frowned slightly. His usual self-assured attitude was nowhere to be seen. And why did he smell like blood? Upon closer inspection, I could see red stains splattered on his shirt.
怪我したのか
Without answering, he reached straight to my collar. Then I heard a click and the perpetual chokehold finally vanished. He had removed my collar. I considered making a run for it, but this tight grip on my arm suggested it wouldn't go well. Even in the darkness, I could see a feral glint in his eyes. It's going to happen, okay. He tossed the collar to the ground, then started dragging me in the direction of the bedroom. When we got there, he threw me down first onto the bed. Okay. The thin matters let out a small creak. There was a click, and a dim orange light illuminated the room. Madarame pulled his coat off and wordlessly crawled on top of me. I looked over my shoulder and caught a sight of a scarlet stain stretching from his sleeve to his chest. There were other red smears here and there, but those were probably from someone else's blood. The big stain, however, was bright and pungent. Thank you to upload Madame's short visual novel got terminated because copyright issues. Oh wow. I hope that doesn't happen here. Oh wow. And no problem. It's so weird because I haven't got any problems on my channel yet. Like no one has make a copyright issue or anything like that. Maybe because I censor the parts I shouldn't show, maybe.
左腕怪我
Is your arm? Before I could finish my question, he pushed my face down into the pillow.
腰を上げろ
you read that? Because you have commentary, it may be. He commanded me robotically with no trace of emotion. Yeah, time to mute. He just went right in. Right after. Nothing happened beforehand, just do that, and there he goes. Phrasing, I mean, is what happened. Do you want the Toa face or no? I mean, you already have Madarame, so I'm not sure if you want to change back. Yes? Is it good? He is low-key in pain. Hold on. There you go. My dude is in pain. He finished his business. Overcome with intense fatigue, I buried my face in the winking sheets and closed my eye. Okay. I didn't care. I could just ignore it. And Madarame rose from the bed. I could sense he's looking down at me. Then his footsteps leaned into the distance, and I heard the chair creak in the other room. I guess he sat there. I opened my eye a crack and gazed around. I think it's done. A tradition at this point. Beyond the closest windows, I could see a crescent moon in the night sky. And that was the last thing I saw before I passed out. Yeah, that was the thing I have to be careful of. The moon was huge that night. There were no clouds, just a tranquil yellow moon shining quietly. And what lay beneath that tranquil pure was pure carnage. As if disconnected from the sky altogether, the ground below was dusty, hazy, filled with shouts and gunshots. People were running around, fighting, punching. Meanwhile, I stood there, staring blankly. Why was I here? This was the past, a nightmare I didn't want to remember. Nightmare, dream. Then I realized I was dreaming. Now that I thought about it, none of these people seemed to notice me standing here. This was a memory from when the Takasato Gumi turned on each other. I hate that sound, please stop, please stop. Just then, a piercing hot impact struck my right eye. My vision went white, and the next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground. My whole head stopped hard, and the right half of my vision was muddy crimson. I could smell something burning. Please stop, please stop. Then the sounds of muffle came back into focus, engulfing me in an instant. TV to the summer, I hate that. But the whole time, I just lay there. Please, I already hear this every now and then. That's enough. Just then, my eye flew open. Apparently, I had fallen asleep. The small, crappy floorlamp was still on, glowing dimly orange. I felt like I had dreamed about something. Something I didn't want to remember about my past. A stab of pain shot through my right eye, and I inhaled sharply. Let me drink water. Loudly rubbing my empty eyelid with one hand, I slowly exhaled once more. The pain wasn't real. It was just a residual phantom pain from the nightmare. Digging my lens into my eyelid, don't do that. I slowly pushed myself out into a sitting position on the edge of the bed. Then I looked for Madarame and found him sitting in the chair in the other room. His head was tilted down, was his posture relaxed. Was he asleep? The light from the floor lamp didn't reach him, so I couldn't tell. But I could see his coat drop lazily over the table. This was the first time I ever seen him sleep since I got here. And if he was sleeping, was he getting slowly slopping out that a few days had passed? Suddenly, I was very awake, like someone had dumped a bucket of cold water over my head. I observed him carefully, then rose to my feet. I wasn't. Why would anyone copyright strike someone that can barely read? I don't think this is good publicity. I don't think it's worth it. I wasn't wearing the collar, so I was free to walk around as I pleased. Slowly pressing my bare feet to the cold floor, I quietly crept forward. As I approached the table near Madarame, I paused to gauge his reaction. Still no sign of him stirring, so I continued to the table. I was hoping I could find something useful in his coat pockets, like a weapon or something. Shut up. For your information, I think I have made at least 2 people consider buying the game. That's something. Finding how quickly I changed my tone about escaping as soon as the opportunity presented itself. Nevertheless, I reached out to the coat. Careful not to make a sound, I slid my fingers into each pocket. I focused my attention on my fingertips, trying to gauge what was in there. I kept glancing at Madarame out of the corner of my eye. I was so nervous my palms started to sweat. If you stop playing, then go buy it. I think the full version is like 25, 30 USD, something like that. It's pretty cheap. The digital copy. It's something among those lines. 25, 30 USD, 30 euros, more or less. It's super cheap for 80 hours of game. Go support them. And if you want... I don't know if they will appreciate that. I kept glancing at Madarame out of the corner of my eye, blah blah, okay. Then, right as I was about to give out, my fingers brushed something hard and cold. I grabbed it and pulled it out. A switchblade. I didn't even have time to feel relief. Eager to escape, I glanced over at Madarame. Welp. Instantly, I froze. His emotionless eyes were staring back at me. Wasn't he fast asleep just seconds ago? His eyes glanced calmly in the darkness. Then his smokes twitched. Reflexively, I turned to bolt. But he was faster and he grabbed my arm. My body staggered backwards, and I hit the ground flat on my back, knocked the wind out of me. I didn't check that much onto the CGs, but it shouldn't be another scene right after. As I screamed and coughed, a shadow fell over me, even darker than the rest of the room. Simultaneously, a gust of wind brushed past my ear. He fell onto me, stabbing the knife into the floor. His expression and tone were both perfectly rational, which made him all the more creepy. He pulled the knife out of the floor and pressed it against my cheek. The icy blade sent goosebumps breaking up my arms.
俺を殺せば逃げられるとでも。足の剣を切ってやってもいいが、歩けなくなると後々面倒だからな。
He pressed his lips to my ear and spoke in a breathy whisper. Every time he breathed into my eardrum, it sent a shudder down my spine. I turned my face away. He lit his head. Then he grabbed my shirt with both hands and forcibly ripped it open. Do I have to censor again, dude? Are you seriously that horny? Not even Towa. The moonlight streaming in through the windows illuminated my sickly pale chest and innumerable scars. Do I have to censor again, dude? He examined my body silently, then narrowed his eyes.
以前に見た時よりもだいぶ傷が増えたな。アバズレなのは相変わらずか。だったらなんだよ。
I glared back at him, refusing to be intimidated. Then a break of pain shot through the left side of my chest. I looked down to see the tip of the knife pressing against it. Oh, hi there, GMP. An official merch, actually, Nitro Child has an international store. You cannot buy everything there. Like, not every type of merch they release is on the international store. But there are a bunch of things that you may be able to get. I think there are standees with the main sprite of each character. Maybe you can get the Madarame one. I'm being dragged away to touch grass. Do your best in the touching grass session. GMP, that's Papa Sneak coughing a lot. I'm sorry for that. Madarame smiled and slid the knife toward my nipple. Okay, dude. The very tip of the blade nickled the skin, and a tiny bit of blood formed on my nipple. With the eyes locked on mine, Madarame lowered his head and ran his tongue to my bleeding nipple. Dude! Do I have to mute? The tingling pain and warmth made me exhale. I just had to censor. Madarame, please. He looked at me and licked his lips sensually.
痛みが好きなのも相変わらずか。
Okay. For some reason, I hated the fact that he was the one commenting on it. Respect you. I don't know about that. And I hated myself for letting it turn me off.
本当はここを切ってほしいんじゃないのか。
He pointed the tip of the knife at the scar that bisected my chest. That was all it took me to shiver in anticipation. I told you, be careful with who you choose before finishing the game. I wanted him to stab the knife into me and rip me open. I nearly lost myself in fantasy picturing blood pouring from the raised flesh. Madarame must have sensed this, because he pressed the knife hard against my scar. Do I have to mute? I just finished. I'm not safe for work scene. Reflexively, I let out a little breath. But then he pulled the knife away and got off me. Dynamic, it's kind of interesting, honestly. There are some parts of the route that are okay and I like, but there are other parts that are like, you just not did that to Towa. Like, oh.
少し首輪を外しただけでこれだからな。
I looked up at him as he complained. Then I realized he had changed his shirt. There was no scarlet stain in this one. Instead, I could see a bandage peeking out from his lazily rolled up sleeve. Sure enough, he was injured. This wasn't common for Madarame, but when we were in the Takasatogumi, I hardly ever saw him get hurt. Did he go head-to-head against a skilled fighter, or did he get sloppy? I think like this starting part was okay-ish because it was what I was expecting, but there are some details that I don't vibe with. Madarame rose to his feet and grabbed the collar off the floor. The chain rattled as he walked back over. Ultimately, I end up wearing the collar again.
バカな気を起こすからだ。
He scoffed at me. Then he grabbed the coat off the table and pulled it on. He dropped the switchblade bag into his pocket, headed for the door, and walked out into the dark night. I lay there in the darkness until silence fell, at which point I slowly pushed myself up. I knew full well this could happen. I was stupid to try to fight. But I was baited into it by the sign of him sleeping. I was the one who got sloppy. I no longer had the energy to cause my idiocy, however. My cold fingers brushed against my collar. Instantly, my fatigue and lethargy overwhelmed me all at once, and I slumped against the floor. And there goes another day. Oh, hi, Miso. What time was it? How many days had passed since I first got here? I was now in a severely debilitated state. I lied on the floor in a perpetual daze, like I was always on the cusp of falling asleep. My limbs were too weak to move, but I wasn't trying to go anywhere, so I didn't mind. This was the natural outcome of refusing food and drink. By this point, I didn't even feel the hunger. My vision was hazy, and it was hard to tell whether I was awake or dreaming. So I lay there, zoning out, hallucinating. I could always lie around during those days too. Not on cold concrete, but on a bed. During those days, when I was part of the Takasato Kumi, I was always with Madarame. We would sit on the sofa and read books or watch TV while I laid on the bed nearby. I never did much except stare up at the ceiling and eat it away. Super productive. Even if we didn't talk, there was always some kind of background noise to keep me occupied, like the drone of the TV or Madame slighted movements. More than anything else, I was at peace. I didn't particularly wish I could go back to those times, but I could picture it vividly. Few words could aptly describe my life with Madarame. How did Madame feel about it, looking back? Did he think of it the same way I did? Madarame. Stockholm Syndrome. Let's go. Just then, I hear a commotion from outside the window. I raised my head and looked outside. My body felt like lead, so I couldn't move swiftly. Supported by the wall, I used both hands to rise to my feet. After that, I needed a minute to recover my energy. Once I caught my breath, I stagged to the window. I could see a few people standing outside the building. At first, I thought they were deathmatch fighters, but I could see something glittering in their hands, guns maybe. I crouched down beneath the window. These guys couldn't be deathmatch fighters since firearms were tacitly prohibited. So who were they? Tono's guns? Maybe they finally tracked down Madarame's hideout. My first instinct was to get out here before they found me. Then I scouted myself. Why did I need to run? What did I care if they killed me? Not like my body was willing to cooperate anyway. But right before I gave into despair, something flashed through my mind. Eyes. Madarame's eyes. Staring at me in cold contempt. Stockholm Syndrome! Instantly, long forgotten rage welled up in my chest, and I grit my teeth. Impulsively, I reached for my collar. The thick leather held fast, and my fingers easily slipped from its surface. The more I struggled, the louder the chain rattled. However, I must have targeted it just in the right spot because it popped open with a click. What the? It wasn't locked? Could Madarame have forgotten to lock it? No way. That could only mean one thing. I tossed the collar to the floor, provoking a metallic clatter from the chain. Then I staggered away from the window to the door. Out in the hallway, I could hear footsteps and sense people approaching. They were already in the building. At this, I clapped my tongue in frustration. They must have heard me struggling with the collar. I pressed a hand to the wall, held my breath, and crept down the hall in my bare feet. As I moved, I dodged around the debris and the straight walls. That must hurt, man. The floor doesn't look very clean, to say the least. But my body was sluggish, and I accidentally tripped over a brick. In my hurry to regain balance, I accidentally kicked it and sent it clattering across the floor. I could hear voices coming down the hall, so I changed direction and went upstairs instead. With my hand on the wall, I slowly heaved my feet up step by step. The slightest motion was enough to sap my energy. I was so weak I was already gasping for breath. Meanwhile, a crowd of footsteps raced up the stairs after me. I fell still. Then one of them grabbed me by the hair. At this, they yanked me backwards. I fell, slamming my back against the stairs. Oosh. Reflexively, I squeezed my eyes shut. When I opened it again, someone wearing a ski mask was staring back at me. When I didn't comply, the man tracked the butt of his gun against my face. Stars flew behind my eyelids as the impact rattled my skull. Suddenly, the man disappeared from the view. When I looked up, Madarame was standing there. Meanwhile, the other man was curled into a ball on the floor, groaning. All at once, the rest of them pointed their guns at Madarame. Somehow, I found the energy to push myself out and shove Madarame out of the way. Suddenly, everything started to happen in slow motion, while a different memory was playing in sync. This wasn't the first time I had tried to take a bullet for Madarame. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? The last time it happened, the person who pulled the trigger was Tono. I hate him so much. At last, I finally remembered. When I returned to reality, I realized Madarame and I had fallen onto the narrow staircase. Madarame muttered quietly, then got up and headed over to the men who fired. I lay on my stomach on the stairs and watched it unfold from the corner of my eye. The way he took down opponent after opponent, his sword didn't look injured. The bullet must have missed. I exhaled and closed my eye. I had used the last strength of my energy, and now I was drowsy to the point of nausea. The gunshot and shouting faded, and silence fell. Then I felt someone pick me up. As I faded in and out of consciousness, I thought over the flashback I had just had.
分かってる。トーノの差し金だろう。違う。加賀とあんたを撃ったのは。
I thought I heard Madarame swallow over so slightly. But that was the moment sleep possessed me at last. I could remember it all. The memories flooded like a twisting kaleidoscope. Tono shot Kaga. Then Tono faced off against Madarame. I was with him at the start, but at some point Madarame told me to hide behind a building and watch from a distance.
あの女がいなくなってから組は2つに分かれちまった。端的に言う。俺は榊についた。お前もこっちへ来い。加賀を裏切ったってことか。組の将来を見据えての判断だ。従来の古臭いやり方じゃ組は落ちぶれる一方だ。誰かが新しい方向へ舵を切らなきゃならない。親父も榊を支持することを決めた。お前はバカじゃない。俺が言ってることの意味は分かってるはずだ。自分にとって何が得かを考えてみろ。断る。本気か？ああ。理由は？嫌だからだよ。他に何がある？
Like Taku, but younger. He look. I can see where you are coming from, but the vibe is so different.
そうか。残念だな。
Tono drew a gun from his breast pocket. Then he pointed it at Madarame and pulled the trigger. This is so cursed! Oh! Blonde Towa is so cursed. I cannot. He looks so weird, okay. Why do you think he has yellow tips on his hair? It's so cursed, I swear. Blonde Towa shouldn't exist. I'm so sorry. At the time, I ran out of impulse, and right as I saw him, I felt something hot piercing my right eye. The right half of my vision was pure red, so I looked at him with the left half. His jacket was wet with blood. Had he been hit?
お前もいたのか。
Tono looked at me coldly, then turned the gun on me. Instantly, Madarame stood up, and looked at Tono's gun's hand.
この
The two of them found for the gun. Then the gun went off, and Madarame froze. During the struggle, the two of them had stumbled to the edge of the pier. Madarame grimaced slightly, clenching his gut. His shirt was stained scarlet. Yeah. I don't know, it's just a little... He probably had longer hair back here, but then he probably cut it short. Then he fell backwards into the ocean. There was a loud splash.
しぶとい野郎だ。
Breathing heavily, Tono turned the smoking gun at me as I lay on the ground. I was frozen to the spot. My right eye felt like it was on fire, and my whole body was throbbing. A moment later, I realized the weird feral breathing sounds were my own. Meanwhile, my one working eye was going hazy. Tono looked at me for a moment, then lowered the gun. Apparently, he wasn't going to kill me. The next instant, I was overcome with intense drowsiness. I didn't want to sleep, but my consciousness was already fading.
お前は親父と血がつながってるからな。いろいろと面倒だ。
That was the last thing I heard before everything went dark. and the next time I awoke, my memories were a blur. According to Taco, who performed the eye surgery, I slept for 5 days straight. Taco asked me about what happened, but all I remember was what Gaga, Madarame, and I got shot. When I awoke, I left my eye, my heavy eye, my heavy. Let me read. My heavy eyelight. My vision came into focus, and I found Madarame right next to me.
Boy.
Why this music? Please no. Please stop. Please, I beg. Normally his face only hands to mouth, stoic or a smack grin, but for once I could see a hard look in his eyes. But I didn't have the energy to keep looking at him, so I closed my eye again. Then I drifted back into the hush of sleep. My eye flew open at the sudden hard impact. Madame's face was now inches from mine. He grabbed my jaw and kissed me. Oh, there we go again. Hey, better feeding. Round 2. Something entered my mouth, something that tasted like flour, some kind of pastry. I tried to fight it, but with my body out of commission, that wasn't happening. Stop. No. I couldn't even push him away. I could only claw weakly at his arm. He kissed me until he confirmed that I had swallowed the food, then pulled away. And then again, as I gasped for breath, he kissed me again. This repeated a few more times. Then he started kissing water into my mouth. Partway through, I gave up and let him do it. Freedom from the baby bird roleplay I got. He is kind of a freak, you know. Next to him, I could see an empty pastry wrapper.
こうすれば食べるのか、お前は。
ふざけるなよ。
自力で食べるつもりがないなら食べさせてやる。それが嫌なら食う。いいな。
He straightened up, pulled his chair over and sat down in it. Then I realized we were not in the same place we were before. Madarame must have moved us after Tono caught wind of the last one. I reached up to my neck and felt cold leather. I was wearing the collar again. This time the chain was attached to a thick pipe near the wall. Like last time, I was surrounded by pasties and bottles of water. Effectively, nothing had changed about my circumstances save from the location. The attack had done nothing to change Madarame's mind. While this didn't surprise me, at the same time it felt like this hell was an ending. Could I remain his pet until my last breath? I didn't even have the energy to kill myself. If only I could will my heart to stop beating. In my mind I had no desire to eat, but my body had other plans. I could feed it stirring in response to the food. Was there any point in prolonging my life like this? Did I have no other choice? These are some of the bits that I don't vibe with. Bitterly I sorted my despair. Also the fact that he let Towa in a room full of silence when he probably knows he gets very anxious whenever there is full silence around him. That also is not very nice. He was trembling and he didn't give a fuck. That night, I lay curled up against the wall, nodding off, when I hear what sounded like gravel crunching. I opened my eye and looked over. Madarame had risen from his chair and was now standing at the window. I couldn't exactly, yeah, but still, like... When you know all the shit from Toga's past and you look back at this, or even without knowing that, it's like, Fuck you, dude. Why are you doing this? Why? Why are you treating another person like this? What the fuck is wrong with you? Outside, a half-moon hung in the inky sky. Sleepy, I stared vacantly at the face in profile. Thomas passed. I don't think he knows it all, but I guess more or less similar level to Taku, I think. It must have sensed my gaze, because he looked over his shoulder at me, then walked over. Or maybe a bit
加賀
less.
と俺を撃ったのは遠野だと言ったな。
I mean, for the most part, I'm sure like what he knows is the part that he spent at the Takasa Tokumi, so maybe he knows a bit of what happened before that, but not all the details. About anything that's not his direct interest, yeah. His cold eyes stared down at me as I handled against the wall.
思い出したのか。
I swallowed dryly. In this state, I didn't have much energy to talk.
俺の目もそうだ。
As I spoke hoarsely, I touched my right socket. Madarame had yet to return my iPads. He narrowed his eyes slightly. But instead of responding, he turned and walked back to the window. I watched him go. Meanwhile, one particular question continued to swirl in my mind.
なんで戻ってきた？
I never meant to say it, but the words left my lips of their own accord. In this condition, I had lost my usual self-control. He shot me a glance.
あんたのことなんて思い出しもしなかったのに。
The words couldn't stop coming. At the same time, I felt oddly furious at my own long dead heart.
あんたは昔からそうだ。引っかき回して満足か。
I glared at him. But he didn't say a word. Instead, he walked away from the window to the corner of the room. As I lay there enduring the pent-up anger, something fell onto me. It was a set of new clothes, plus my old coat.
着替えろ。
Meanwhile, Madarame slunk into his own coat.
出かけるぞ。
At this, I frowned up at him.
どこへ？デスマッチエリアだ。何しに？うろついてる連中と遊ぶんだよ。なんで？ただの暇つぶしだ。
He narrowed his eyes in annoyance.
質問タイムは終わりか？早く支度をしろ。じゃなきゃそのままで連れ回すぞ。これは。
I held up the chains attached to my collar.
出る時だけ外してやる。まあ、どうせその体じゃろくに逃げられないだろうが。
He was right. My energy was at all time low. Even if I tried to run at a full speed, I would never outrun him. It wasn't an option. I waited for him to remove my collar, then put on my new clothes and looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. I looked like a gaunt, ancient corpse. I was practically unrecognizable, even to myself. But that was fine by me. Are you sure? When I left the bathroom, I found Madarame standing by the door. His hood pulled low over his eyes.
行くぞ。
Funny. I pulled on my coat and together we left the room. Following a hard punch to the nose, the man went flying and hit the ground flat on his back. Late at night, Madarame was scrolling down under the moonlight when a deathmatch fighter challenged him. When Madarame whipped him out in one punch, his buddies got mad and charged him. But now only Madarame and I were left standing. It was all over so fast, I could only stand there and watch it unfold. As the men groaned in pain, Madarame heaved a dramatic sigh.
弱すぎて話にならない。
I was inclined to agree. He dodged all their pathetic attacks and easily took them out. They didn't stand a chance. Not a single one of them managed to land a hit.
わかるか。デスマッチの参加者以外にも参加者を装って俺を潰すために送り込まれてる奴らがいる。高里組の誰かの仕業だろうがな。せっかくだから遊んでやってるんだ。
With an apathetic smile, he started walking.
他を探すか。
What a nice ghost. What a nice, friendly ghost. But just then, he stopped short. Dubiously, I gazed at him from behind. But then, he looked over his shoulder at me.
聞こえるか。
When I paused to listen, I could make out footsteps mixed in with the usual hustle and bustle of the city. These footsteps were irregular, like the stumble of a drunk, and they were slowly approaching. That could be so cursed. Madarame glanced around in search of the swords. Then he smiled faintly.
来るぞ。
帰りな。なんだよな。
The man was hunched over with both hands in his jacket pockets, muttering to himself as he stumbled along. Behind him stumbled a few more guys, a deathmatch group perhaps, but not just any group. The man in the lead spotted Madarame, looked over and down a twisted grin.
なんだ。悪いからやっちゃおっかな。
The men formed a loose circle around us. All of their eyes were dull and hazy, reminiscent of a different guy I once saw. The guy who slammed me on Cover Street. Dragis.
どうせお前なんか楽勝だろうけどよ。こっちが勝ったら何でも言うこと聞けよ。
There's intimidated looking at you ever. I don't know, man. If I came across a group like this on the street, I could be sitting myself.
まずはやっぱ金だけどさ、金。世の中何でもかんでも金だろ。財布ごと全部置いてけよ。そしたら。
Before he could finish his sentence, Madarame decked him square in the face. With both hands clutching his face, the man staggered backwards and ducked down.
てめえ
The other men began to throw a fit. But it was painfully obvious how this was going to play out. A few minutes later, Madarame and I stood surrounded by men collapsed on the floor. But Madarame wasn't too entertained. He cracked his neck with an unusual look on his face. TikTok influencer, hypebeast, and dude who tried to sell me. No! As for me, I was out of breath. Madarame had handed most of them, but one of them decided he could settle for kicking my ass instead. But since I couldn't fight worth shit in my current condition, Madarame ended up coming to my rescue. You brought that upon yourself. You are in no place to complain. You made that to Tono. With a disappointed sight, Madarame crouched down next to the ringleader. He rolled the guy onto his back, then started rifting through his pockets. Eventually, he found what he was looking for in the inner pocket of his coat. It was a little plastic baggie filled with white powder. Madarame straightened up, ripped the baggie open, and dumped its content onto the ground. Once, one of the men whimpered in disappointment. Madarame tossed the baggie, then continued his search of the rest of the men, dumping out any drugs he found.
高里組が新しい薬を作ってるらしいな。完成前のサンプルが水面下で出回ってるんだろうが、その結果がこのありさまだ。
新しい薬。今出回ってるやつ以外は高里組で禁止してるんじゃないのか。
組長が死んだからな。古いしきたりなんぞクソくらえってことだ。金儲けがしたいんだろう。
He walked straight over to me and grabbed my arm. Then he dragged me into the narrow alley. At approximately the halfway mark, he recognized his grip on me. I glared at him. He grinned and licked his lip. Don't?
お前を抱いてる方がまだ暇つぶしになる。
Not again! Please! For your information, I have my mouse, like the pointer, on top of the sensor picture. Just in case I have to turn it on at any moment. The smoke swayed playfully. This pissed me off. I didn't want to take orders from him. Just in case. He was baiting me. If he wanted to grab me and use me like a factoid, I could get into that. But no, he wanted me to volunteer myself. I didn't want to, and yet, deep down, I got a little thrill out of it. There we go. I was at my limits, physically and mentally, and as a result, I have no self-control. This man was capable of giving me the pleasure I wanted. We were a perfect match. Yeah, that... toxic relationship, am I right? My body was well aware of this, and it found the temptation hard to refuse. Just in case. He punched without hesitation. He fought to kill, and he enjoyed the violence from the bottom of his heart. I'm so scared. Even if it resulted in his own death, he didn't care. Naturally, he didn't care if his opponent died either. That was the kind of game he played. His desire matched mine on a fundamental level. It was impossible not to relate. Still, I didn't want to let him win. It was because I could relate that I refused to take his orders. Copy me, it's super toxic. Immediately in the past, I had felt comfortable with him. But even then, too much time had passed. I had changed. I didn't want to beat his bed. I just wanted to exist. As I stared back at him hesitantly, his smile vanished, and he led aside. Okay, no, he just punched him. I was like, is he going to force him into it? No, he just punched him, okay. The next instant he punched me out of nowhere and relieved. I'm so scared of anything happening at any given moment. My skin burned hot where he punched me, and I felt a familiar thrill in my gut. Whenever I took a punch, it made me want to give back in kind. Then I'd take another and give another, and on and on. That sentence was so hard to read for no reason. Nothing got my blood pumping like trading full throat blows. Madarame knew this. He was trained to seduce me into punching him back. As if he read my mind, he donned an arrogant smirk. This is exactly why I hate you. Let go. Cursing under my breath, I charged straight towards him. He dodged easily and struck back. It knocked the breath through my lungs and my vision went dark. Madarame was not the type to go easy on the weak. He's in a very bad shape. Okay. That knowledge was what enabled me to fight back as hard as I could. It would have been a miracle if I could even graze his cheek. At least he's trying. He pummeled me in the face, and a cut in my face and gut until I wanted to puke. And look at him smiling like that. I cannot. I just spat out blood and stomach acid, then excruciated Madarame cautiously. He was wearing his usual confident smile, and unlike me, wasn't even out of breath.
そろそろ終わりか。
As he tasted me, his fist cut sharply through the air. I thought I would just barely dodge it, but his next punch collided with my solar plexus and I doubled over. I couldn't breathe. Suppressing the urge to barf, I clenched my stomach and staggered backwards.
案外持たなかったな。
What are you expecting of someone that hasn't barely eaten or moved or drink or anything in the past week or more? What are you expecting? He spoke firmly, and then I sensed him moving. Clearly, he was planning to finish me off. Still doubled over, I barreled forward. My brain was switched off, and I was operating purely on instinct now. I looked up, gritting my teeth, and clenched my fist. His sneering face drew near. The next instant, my sync dimmed. It felt like I blanched out for just a few seconds. The next thing I knew, my feet was touching his cheek. It only grazed his skin, of course, but for some reason, I still felt the rush. I was having fun. Naturally, right after that, I took a direct punch and fell flat on my back. My whole body ached, but I felt great.
本当にお前は殴られるのが好きだな。
He stared at my hips and grinned down at me. I'm so scared. I'm so scared of a no safe for work CG jumpscare. You have no idea. Just then he grabbed... Okay, let me censor just in case. The moment I say that.
立ってるぞ、この同変態。
Just in case, stop being a freak. Only then did I notice that that was a thing that was happening.
てめえもだろうが。
Oh no. Oh no. Do I have to censor it? Is it going to happen now? On the middle of the streets? Are they for real? Oh no, just in case. You read this. You read this. Sure, dude. Sure. Too late. Once again, I didn't notice it until he pointed it out. It must have happened after he punched me. Oh my god. Yeah. This is the same shit he used to do back in the old days. After an all-out fist fight, I will always get horny and start looking for a hookup. And a lot of the time, Madarame was right there. You read that? He always looked down on everyone around him, but for some reason I was drawn to him, and he seemed to want me around too. Looking back, part of me must have liked that he knew me so well. I'm scared. Is it going to happen now? Is it? is happening in the middle of the street. Okay. By the way, this is the music that it's sounding in the background. It hasn't changed. It's still going. Maybe it was pointless, maybe I could never resist him. Tono is at least going blonde for blonde on the freak. Yeah. It was a battle for dominance because none of them want to lose. And they are going fully onto it. That was Papa Sneak coughing. Very poor voice acting, that I have to say. Are they done? I think they are done. He's lighting a cigarette up, Madarame. As I watched him light one up, I remember the red and silver Zippo lighter. Currently, it was in my possession once again, but before that was Madarame using it. This was what I contemplated during my Beyond the smoke rising from his cigarette, I could see a twisted sky pierced by 30 buildings. No clouds, no stars, no moon, like the whole thing was painted black. Madame tilted his head up to exhale the smoke. I could feel the chill of the asphalt as I lay there. It felt like my organs might face solid. That was Papa's Nick. But that wasn't my problem, so I closed my eye. That's read later on. There is stuff happening. Okay, hopefully they will stop being extremely horny 24/7 for one moment. But this is what you sign up for. When we returned from the deathmatch area, something didn't feel right. It wasn't that we were staying at a different place. It was that I wasn't upset about it. All the time I spent imprisoned, I felt I could never relax. But now I wasn't upset at Madarame at all. Stockholm Syndrome, let's go! His presence felt natural, almost like we had gone back to the cool old days. We have gone back. He has gone back. Maybe we had. When we when he first kidnapped me, he told me to go back. At the point, I wasn't sure what he meant by that, but thinking back, maybe he wanted me to go back to the way I used to be. If so, then I guess he got his wish. We fought with, and now I remember what life used to be like with him. Was that why he brought me to the deathmatch area? Now I suspected that maybe he broke my spirit on purpose so I would lose all self-control. As I shot around, he put the collar on my neck. Gently, I walked to the wall and sat down. Then, I looked at the pastries and water bottles placed nearby. In the past, I always refused to accept his charity, but now I found I wasn't so opposed. Baffled, I found myself subconsciously reaching for a pastry. My hunger and thirst had already exceeded their limits to the point that I no longer felt them. I opened the pastry warp and took a small bite. The hunger I had grown numb to instantly intensified, and I quickly started eating the rest. Please tell me I don't have to have the mouse and the pointer over the sensor screen the rest of the stream. Please. After I finished the pastry, I cracked open a bottle of water and drank. My body felt so much better with its hunger and thirst sated. With that? Boy, you have a small stomach. Right as I had done about half of the bottle, I sensed a pair of eyes on me. Madarame was sitting in his chair watching me with a grin on his face. His smug's satisfaction pissed me off, and I looked away.
うまいか
Honest road so far. It is, but... nah.
なんなら口移しで食わせてやろう
I could tell he was teasing me, so I shot him down hard. He didn't say another word after that. As I ate my second pastry, I gazed out the window. There was a tiny hint of light on the horizon. The sun would soon rise. Just then, I thought about my old life at the clinic. Taku could come upstairs to wake me up, and I would get dressed and come downstairs, and Ray would start chatting cheerfully. But now I preferred this emptiness, because this was the person I truly was. You are not. As I gazed out at the dawn, I found myself in the mood to wax nostalgic. In Ray's route, he eats food properly for the most part. Remember all the food pics? At least he ate part of that. Not much, but I think he ate something. That's the route in his the most healthy. The next day, Madarame and I went back out to the deathmatch area. We were killing time again, but rather than whipping out all the fighters by force, we were basically just playing around with anyone who picked a fight with us. At some point, yeah. And Ray's cooking in general, very nice. Madarame whipped out 2 whole tins, then headed down the alley with an amused look on his face. We turned corner after corner until we reached a slightly wider alley, and that was when I got a strange feeling in my chest. It was an instinctive gut reaction with no basis in reality. Then a figure appeared from another corner up ahead, and Madarame stopped short. Likewise, the figure froze, motionless.
Toa?
The voice pierced my heart like a knife. It was Ray.
Toa!
Hablando del rey de Roma. He stared at me, shocked and perplexed. Then he looked at Madarame.
マダラメ。本当に。
He whispered hoarsely. How did he recognize Madarame when the two of them have never met? Taku must have showed him a picture of him or something. There you have your explanation. There you have it.
お前の知り合いか？
Madarame looked at me. Thanks, game. I looked back at Ray silently. I used to spend every day looking at that face, and now it felt like centuries had passed. But at the same time, something didn't feel right. It almost felt like Ray was an alien from another planet. Like there was an invisible line in the sand between him and the two of us.
どうやら遠野の差し金じゃないようだな。
Madarame seemed to take the hint from the look on my
ずっと
face.
探してたのよ。とは。
Ray spoke wearily as he tilted his head down.
タクからマダラメのことを聞いて。そうよ。タクもひどい目にあったのよ。トワを呼び出すように脅されたって言ってたわ。
Papa sneaked coughing.
その後、トワがいなくなって、マダラメに連れて行かれたんだって思って、ずっと探してたの。マダラメをデスマッチエリアで見たって人がたくさんいたから、毎日探してたのよ。
Then Ray shot a piercing look at Madarame.
タクから聞いて分かってはいたけど、本当に生きてたのね。
After a long laugh, he looked back at me.
トワ、帰るわよ。こっちに来て。
Instantly, a response came to mine. I can't. It had found out me a few days ago, maybe things could have been different. But now, still part of me was torn. The memories of my life with him and Taku replayed on my mind. Where did I belong?
トワ
Ray called my name urgently. I looked at my feet and pursed my lips. I couldn't speak. I didn't know what to say or how to express how I felt.
やるか。
Madarame asked, and smiling.
トワ
Ray called my name again, in a beseeching tone. Madarame exhaled and shook his head in annoyance.
鬱陶しいから潰すぞ。
As he spoke, he turned to face Ray.
やめろ。
I barely managed to get the word out. Madarame looked back at me, almost offended.
俺に指図するのか。
As I felt silent, his gaze hardened with contempt.
溶けかけたフランシュタイの方がまだマシだな。
With that flat declaration, he turned on his heel and walked off like he had lost all interest. I started to walk after him.
トワ
Bleeding. Ah, okay. But a desperate shriek stopped me in my tracks. I looked back to see that Ray was on the verge of tears.
マダラメが怖いの？怖いから逃げられないの？ねえ、どうしてついていこうとするの？逃げればいいじゃない。あんたは一人じゃないのよ。私たちが助けてあげる。だからこっちに来て。
His loud voice echoed down the dark alley. Raised my eyes cried, how have table turns from you saying that he's very annoying to you saying he sounds nice? Lego character development. But I couldn't. It didn't feel right. I just didn't belong there anymore.
トワ
Don't call me out. No. I kept walking.
なんでマダラメについていくの？あんたなんでそんなにふぬけちゃったのよ。まるで従順な犬みたいじゃない。トワ
Ray's scream cut through the darkness, echoing off the glitters of empty buildings. As I followed after Madarame, I could feel something stuck in my throat, so I didn't look back. Back at Madarame's hideout, I sat against the wall with my knees stuck under my chin. The rain created a peaceful ambience, with cold, humid air that pierced my skin. Meanwhile, my mind replayed those events over and over, ceaselessly.
なんでマダラメについていくの？あんた、なんでそんなにふぬけちゃったのよ。まるで従順な犬みたいじゃない。トマ！
Gotta love the immediate flashback of anime. That was what Ray had shouted after me back in the alley, and now it had really planted a thorn in my heart. Little pet talk. Was that how everyone else saw me? The thought made me scoff at myself. I had always despised authority and anyone who sought to control me. So why did I choose to stay with Madarame? Had I given up and accepted my imprisonment as the easier option? I could feel Ray's comments slowly getting under my skin. As I sat there with my face buried in my knees, something struck me hard. I wasn't expecting it, so I hit the ground without bracing for impact. I looked over to find Madarame standing there, disgruntled. Apparently, he had kicked me.
いつまで寝ぼけてるつもりだ。それとも本当に脳が腐ったのか。いい加減決めろ。
What choice? I saw him a questioning look.
向こうかこっちか。決めろと言ってる。
This or that? For a second, I didn't understand what he meant. But then, the implication slowly sank in. Him or them. He wanted me to choose one or the other.
俺に決める権利なんかない。
I scoffed sarcastically. Then he slammed his toe down onto my head. He pressed my face hard against the cold concrete. A sharp pain shot through my right socket, and I grimaced. Then it started to burn hot, and a warm fluid trickled out from between my second lids. He seemed to have noticed that I was bleeding, but he didn't let up.
ごたくはいい。答えろ。
He spoke flatly. Then he pulled his shoe away. But just as I was released from the pressure against my skull, he grabbed me by the collar and hoisted me up. His eyes stared at me coldly, as the fabric squeezed against my throat.
向こうとこっち。どっちだ
This, obviously. These details here and there are what make me not like this route, because... But I couldn't get the words out. He changed fast. He has been here for like a week, has been forced to many shitty stuff by Madarame. He has remembered the past. He has remembered the toxic relationship. He is kind of into that shit, but he didn't want to be there. At first, he really didn't want to be there. So I wouldn't say he changed fast, more like Madarame forced him to change. When I averted my gaze awkwardly, he punched me in the face. Then he grabbed me by the throat and I figured he was going to strangle me, but instead he removed my collar.
ほら、来いよ。
With a taunting grin, he held up the collar like he was rubbing it in my face. You're asking this poor dude that is at his limit to fight. In that instant, my brain switched off. On autopilot, I rushed to my feet and lunged at him. He dropped the collar, then touched my pants and struck back. I blowed his pants, held my ground, and smoked again. Once again, he dodged my attack, then punched me in the gut. Not only I struck, but I didn't back down. All the emotions I had bottled up come rushing out uncontrollably. No matter how many punches I took, I didn't go down. Like a robot, I got back up and tried again. This was what my life was back when I was with Madarame. If he picked a fight with me, I would take the bait. Or sometimes, I was the instigator. I had nothing worth living for, so I wasn't afraid to die. It was more compelling when seen as an interested man rather than a sympathetic character, at least so far. I mean, he keeps the same vibe even after we are moved past this keeping Towa hostage section of the route. He keeps the same vibe. That's why I fought with everything I had, and I expected the same of my opponents. After I left Takasa Togumi, however, my competitive spirit died out. I avoided fighting, and if anyone hit me, I would just let them. The peaceful boredom had eroded my aggression. I grew complacent at rock bottom. But now Madarame had brought me back.
もっと来いよ。
He provoked me with an air of smug confidence. I endured blow after blow, but it didn't stop me. Whenever I managed to graze his cheek with my fist, his eye would twinkle playfully. He was having fun. But my stubbornness offered no immunity from the pain, of course. A blow to the face sent me stabbing backwards and I fell onto my ass. I see that word and I feel like I need to censor. Please not again. I swear, please stop. The only sound was that of my elaborate breathing. When I didn't get up, he stopped. Silently, he looked at me with his emotionless eyes. How the hints into character emotions from then makes looking at the roots more interesting. Then he looked away and walked to the corner of the room. Obviously, I watched closely as he grabbed something. Then he walked back and dumped the items in front of me on the floor. My old clothes and shoes and something else on top. My cell phone.
迷うような人間に用はない。
He spoke fluently, then walked to the table and sat down in his chair. When he leaned back and pulled out his phone like he couldn't care less about what I did. I sat there blankly for a moment, watching him. Then the gears of my head started turning, and I finally processed what was going on. Put simply, he was kicking me out. Had he lost interest in me? Apparently so. Why else could he take my collar off?
なんだ。
There we go! Please work properly, please work properly. Please don't be broken.
Negative. そうか。
Okay, it's working properly, that's okay. So you are done with me?
Yoshi.
Colors are neat. You make the dark blue? You are too hard to read. I don't understand the way you think. Can't you reply something? Trying to achieve.
どういうことだ。
What are you trying to achieve here? Can you say something back to
わから
Tono?
ないのか。いや、
ネガティブ。
Your fault for expecting too much. You're always like this. You never say a word, you never change.
ネガティブ。
You're the problem here, not me.
おい、
How long are you planning to give me the silent treatment?
あ
He's getting pissed off.
あ、まだらめ。
Sorry for that. Let me repeat that because, yeah, backlog. He is coughing so loudly. I'm so sorry. Can you say it again? Or no? Damn it. He shouted his name. Do I have to mute now? You don't know? Pathetic. Again?
ポジティブ。くそ。
God damn it. What's your problem? No response whatsoever. Hurry up and start talking. What's so great about rooting away in a web of lies? Ask.
ポジティブ。おい、
What's that supposed to mean? This is just an act, isn't it? You're trying to confuse me.
これも村瀬の影響か。
I never realized you were that far gone. Though he's talking about something about Taku. I sense a hint of annoyance in his tone.
まだらめは何がしたいんだ。気絶したタク。タクを痛めつけた理由は。
最後に面白いことを教えてやる。あの男はお前に嘘をついてる。
嘘。
あいつは記憶を失ったガキのお前に嘘を教え込んだ。そうすれば、お前が嫌な記憶と共に生きなくて済むって理由らしいが、お前はずっと欺かれて生きてきたんだよ。お前が今までいたのは、嘘にまみれたぬるま湯の世界だ。それでも戻りたいなら戻ればいい。
嘘。
好きにしろ。
俺は。
Madarame watched me with a faint smile lying at his lips. I couldn't detect any changes in his smoke. Was he really going to let me leave? Without breaking eye contact, I reached out and got my stuff. A few days ago, I could have made a run for it without hesitation. But now, I was torn. Part of me wasn't sure if it was what I wanted. Again, my head, I turned away from Madarame. Then I walked to the door. It wasn't locked, and it opened easily. I left the room without looking back. I pulled on my clothes and stuck my phone in my pocket. Then I dashed down the dark decaying corridor and out of the abandoned building. At some point, the rain must have let up. I walked for a bit, then stopped and looked over my shoulder. All I could see were clammy bricks wall and gaping classes windows. I probably read that very wrong. I don't care. Somehow it didn't register that I once lived there, and that Madarame still did. Honestly, I was trying to leave it behind. It felt like the wrong thing to do. But with some distance between us, these inexplicable emotions I felt towards Madarame would eventually fade. After all, I had spent years believing him to be dead. So I was just going back to that. End of story. I sucked in a breath as my right socket started to ache sharply. I touched it and my fingers came out bloodily. Must have started bleeding when Madarame hit me. He has this... How do you say it? This habit of punching him on that side of the face just to make it bleed. Shaking off the pain, I turned and walked away. I don't remember how I found my way out of the deathmatch area and back to the clinic, but the next thing I knew I was standing at the front entrance. That I has been blind the majority of the road. Yeah, I don't want to think how bad it must be. Through the glass door, I could see that the lights were all off, and the place was locked. That was Papa sneezing. So I walked around to the side entrance and used my key to let myself in. The clock on the wall indicated 3 a.m. Naturally, no one was around. That was a power. They are always like that. Always like that. Like, can't you not be a tiny bit, like, be a bit a little less noisy? I went upstairs and walked into my apartment. The main room was surrounded in darkness. It looked like no one had lived there in years. This didn't change when I flipped the lights on. It didn't really feel like I was home. In the past, I would have switched the TV on straight away, but not this time. There was a redness in my chest that put me ill at ease, almost like I wasn't supposed to be here. I let myself down on the sofa without taking my coat off. Gazing up at the ceiling, I took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. When I closed my eyes, my mind conjured the last I have seen of Madarame. He sat in his chair like it was a throne, arms folded, smiling faintly. Then, Confrontation replayed on my head. Was it ever revealed what Towa's weird urge was from the start of Root? Not yet. It's not fully unexplained in-game, but you can get an idea once you play the full game. That tiny detail is not explained, but when you look at all the pieces back, you are like, oh, it was because of that. He told me Taku was deceiving me. Was he even telling the truth, or was he trying to confuse me? Why did he suddenly decide to let me go? Knowing him, maybe he simply got bored of me. Tell us is a spoiler. I cannot. Once we finish the game fully, I will tell you. I sat up and leaned back against the sofa. Then I pulled my phone out of my coat pocket. I spoil it? No. This was the first I have seen of my teddy since Madarame kidnapped me, and the screen was filled with thousands of missed calls and messages. The date indicated it was indeed the start of a new year. The fact that the party hadn't died suggested Madarame had kept it charged for me. I called Ray.
とは
ああ、
どうなったの？マダラメから逃げられたの？
まあ、
嘘！ 本当？
嘘をつく必要がない。
そうよね。よかった。
He let out a heavy sigh of relief.
タクにも連絡してあげて。心配してたから。今どこ？部屋？
部屋にいる。
じゃあ今からそっちへ行くわね。
いや、明日でいい。
でも
少し休む。
分かったわ。もし動けるなら何か食べて水分も取ってよく休んでね。
ああ。
連絡してくれてありがとう。それじゃあおやすみなさい。
The call ended there. I stared down at my phone screen in silence. The reason I called him was not to let him know I was home. I just wanted to think about someone who wasn't Madarame for a chance. Now that I was back here, I needed to forget about him as soon as possible. I needed to get my life back to the way it was before our reunion. He's just a good person. He's such a good boy. Next, I started to call Taku. But just then, as if on cue, my phone lit up with an incoming call from Taku himself.
と戻ってきたのか。
ああ。
今レイから連絡が来て、それで
He paused there hesitantly, like he had something he wanted to say.
そのいろいろと話したいことはあるんだが、あ、榊さんには連絡したか。心配してたぞ。なんなら俺から連絡しておくが。
いや、自分で連絡する。
そうか。お前も疲れてるだろう。明日、今日か。後で話そう。
わかった。
それじゃ、またな。
And with that, the brief conversation comes to an end. I tossed my phone onto the coffee table, then lay on my back on the sofa and wrapped an arm over my eyes. Naturally, sleep remained elusive. My body was exhausted, but my mind was wide awake. Just then, an old memory rose up in the darkness. A memory from the big fight. Tono and Madarame were facing off. In the dream I was pretty sure I could hear them talking, but when I woke up, I couldn't remember. What did Tono say to Madarame, and how did he respond? I was craving booze, and I reached down to the floor, but my usual bottle was gone. Taku must have put it back in the fridge while I was gone. I let out a defeated sigh. Get up and get it. He's not going to do it. Yeah, it's the same. In the end, I lay awake all night. Well, all night long until the sun rose the next morning. At some point, I must have passed out. Slowly, I opened my eye. I didn't consider it sleeping, since it was basically just my brain performing a hard reset. Reset. I slowly pushed myself up into a sitting position. Then I noticed the bandages on my arm and legs. Taku or Roy must have applied them while I was unconscious.
目覚めたのね。よかった。
I looked up to see Ray standing there. He was carrying grocery bags in each hand, which he promptly set on the table.
とはこの間デスマッチエリアで会った時も思ったんだけど、すごく痩せたわね。体は大丈夫？動ける？
ああ。
He looked at me in concern.
お腹空いてるでしょ？喉も渇いてるんじゃない？もうほんとそんなに痩せちゃってすごく心配。いろいろ買ってきたから 食べ物と飲み物は大丈夫だと思うんだけど。やだ、ちょっと。
He changed my sentence and got stand beside me.
この首の傷、何？
Neck marks? Maybe my brain wasn't working. I couldn't process what he was talking about. Then, a few moments later, it clicked.
首は
は？首は？どういうこと？
そのままだよ。首輪をはめられてた。
何それ、ひどい。完全に犬扱いじゃない。
鎖もついてたからな。
I thought it was pretty funny, but Reid clapped both hands to his mouth and froze in horror.
なんなのそれ。ひどすぎるわ。逃げられて本当によかった。
Mixed feelings. Welcome to the club. Welcome.
ああ、
Technically, I didn't escape at all. I was tossed out.
とは大丈夫か？
The door opened and Taku walked in. For a second, I didn't recognize him. But not because he looked radically different or anything like that. My brain just flipped to present him as Taku. This didn't happen with Rei since I had already encountered him in the deathmatch area. Apparently, my old life could take some getting used to.
あ
I answered guardedly. My brain wasn't functioning properly. Maybe I was tired.
そうは見えないがな。どこからどう見ても栄養失調だ。脱水も起こしてるだろう。
His expression clouded over.
点滴をした方がいい。準備してくるから待ってろ。
With that, he hurried out of the room. Judged by their expression, it was Taku who treated my wounds. Then I remembered that Madarame had said about him, that he was lying, that he was hiding something. I tried to tell myself it didn't matter, but it did nothing to ease the redness inside my chest. A few moments later, Taku returned with the IV drip stand and all.
腕借りるぞ。
He sat down on the sofa, grabbed my left arm, and disinfected the injection site. Then he stuck the IV in me like he had done it all 1,000 times before.
お前は血管が分かりやすくて助かるよ。
He suckled, I hope I read that right, then tapped the IV needed to my arm.
よし、このまましばらく安静だ。今はとにかく休んだ方がいい。
そうね、そうした方がいいわ。ゆっくり休んで。
Nothing Reid looked at the coffee table.
買ってきたものの他におにぎりも作ったの。置いてあるから食べてね。
On the table sat a plastic container with 2 big rice balls inside.
そういや、バタバタしてるうちに年が明けたな。今年もよろしく。
今年もよろしくね。とは。
The two of them fussed over me to the very last minute, then finally left the room. Silence fell, and with it came sweet relief. Normally the silence always made me anxious, but not anymore. On the contrary, being alone meant I could finally relax. Weakly, I looked over at the IV stand. The clear fluid dripped rhythmically, traveling through the tube to and into my arm, my neck. It was just so quiet. I don't think leaving him alone with his thoughts in this state is the best, not gonna lie. I leaned back against the sofa and closed my eye for a while, then glanced over at the coffee table. Raised rice balls caught my eye. Slowly I sat upright. Using my non-IV hand, I reached out and grabbed one from the plastic container. I thought maybe if I flipped the script and acted completely out of character, I could adjust to my new life a little faster. So I took a bite. alone with his thoughts, never. The familiar flavor spread on my tongue. It was inarguably good food. And yet, this only made me all the more restless. Something wasn't right. Something was off. Reflexively, I rubbed the bandage on my neck. I could still feel the residual pain of the collar. Unable to sit for a moment longer, I rose to my feet, but the ivy tugged me back. I yanked the needle out of my arm. The injected side stuck, but I didn't give a shit. I wanted out of here. Maybe some fresh air would keep me calm. I grabbed my phone and checked the time. Roost wasn't quite open yet. It was one of the places I had missed most. Maybe I could feel better if I went back to my old routine. Anything seemed better than sitting around in here. Sprung forward by a feeling I couldn't name, I hurried from the room. The only person at Roost was the manager. Evidently, no one felt like drinking so soon after New Year's. When I walked in, he looked at me in surprise.
トア君
I walked to the counter and sat down.
ずいぶん久しぶりじゃない。最近見なかったからどうしたのかと思ったよ。
まあちょっと。
それにしても痩せたね。大丈夫？
ああ。
He didn't dig any deeper after that, just smiled softly.
注文は？
お任せで。
He nodded, grabbed a glass, and got to work. While I waited for my drink, I glanced around and pulled my cigarette and simple lighter from my coat pocket. The place was still dim and quiet, just as I remember it. Somehow it was a bit more comforting than my room. As I took it all in, there was a quiet thunk as the manager set a glass down in front of me. Please notice that he has the red Madarame Zippo lighter instead of the usual one. Please notice that detail. By the way, if I recall correctly, that was something that you could buy, I think, at some point. I'm not sure. I took a drag from my cigarette and set it on the rim of the ashtray. Then, exhaling smoke, I grabbed the glass. I think at some point they make that. I think, again, I'm not sure, but I have seen people that have one that looks exactly the same. I don't know if they bought it from the official store or something, or they made it themselves. But somewhere out there is a Zippo lighter that looks exactly the same. The flavor of the alcohol was familiar to me, as was the taste of the nicotine. It was reassuring.
おはようございますってあれとは
As the sound of my name, I looked over to find that Ray had arrived for his shift. He rushed over in surprise.
もう出歩いて平気なの
まあ。
でもまだあんまり顔色が良くないわよ。もう少し部屋で休んでた方が良かったんじゃない
He tried to get a look at my face. I recoiled and put some distance between us.
ごめんね。
He sounds so sad. Ray, baby. His expression stunned guiltily.
いや。
Even I could tell my voice was hard, so I played it off. I sit from my glass. I can find it online with English. Yeah, maybe it was a Japanese thingy, probably. I will have to check, but I swear I have seen that someone having one of those. Not sure how they got it, but it exists out there. Then I felt my anxiety returned in full force. Something was deeply wrong. Reluctantly, I set my glass down and took a long drag from my cigarette. The instant I exhaled, however, Madarame's face flashed through the back of my mind. his unrepellent arrogance, his smug grin, his feral eyes. A tingle shot down my spine. My palms began to sweat and my fingers went cold. Something was wrong. I didn't belong here. I needed something more intense.
違う。
Stockholm Syndrome. Muttering under my breath, I set my cigarette on the rim of the ashtray. Then I donned my drink. Ray looked at me dubiously.
なんでもない。
I saw it quietly. This wasn't my word. Staring at the floor, I gently reached up to my throat. That collar and chain had once tied me down. At the time, I thought I hated it, but now... All of a sudden, the room began to spin, and I braced myself against the counter. Almost like Madarame had hit me again. His punches always turned my wall upside down. Whenever I took one to the cut, my breathing would hinge. The intense pain would make me wonder if he crushed my internal organs. With his emotionless sneer, he could grasp me mercilessly. He's just very horny. Whenever I fought him, I felt like my whole life was on the line. It was so round and seductive, even breath was a sweet whisper, every dot of blood a kiss. The pain would make my whole body scream, and the impact would shrink my brain into... He's just very horny. Madame showed me what true pain felt like, and...
どうは
Ray timidly called out to me as I sat there, frozen, hand on the counter. But I wasn't listening. Instead, I sat to my feet. The back of my neck, no, all of it, felt like it was on fire.
帰る。
I stand over to the door like the drunk I was.
ドア
I could hear him calling after me, but I didn't look back. Outside, I slid along the wall and staggered into a narrow alley. After a few steps, I clung to the wall and tried not to collapse. Why this music? Please! Please don't make me censor once again. Please, I'm begging you. Okay? I exhaled feverishly, then reached... Okay. He keeps thinking every time Madarame punches him, basically. It's 5 in the afternoon. In the middle of the road. I think he's finally over. I will not give more details. No, he's not. He's over, but he feels like it's not enough. After he had that realization, Someone is calling him, but he is too lazy to check. And he keeps walking. Ay, por el amor de Dios. Game, please. It's been 4 times. As I get back to the cleaning, I hear a car engine roll up behind me. It got up to me and came to a stop.
ようとは
The driver's window rolled down to reveal Tono. In an instant, my voice. Okay.
なんだぼーっとしてるな酔ってるのか
そっちこそ一人なんて珍しいな。
I glanced behind him in the car, but didn't see any of his luggage. Otherwise, Tono couldn't be driving.
お前のところに用があってな
クリニックか。
ああ
What could Tono want at the clinic?
ついでにお前にも話があったんだ
At this, I frowned. Talk about what? Madarame?
俺にはない。
まあ待てよ
I turned to leave, but then I hear a metallic click. A shiny black cylinder extended out from the car window.
そう焦るな話があると言ってるだろう
His eyes were cold and hard. I stopped and waited for him to continue.
まだらめが戻ってきているようだな
Sure enough, my suspicions were correct.
まだらめが生きてたこと知ってたんだな。あんたも榊も。
あの時は死んだと言うしかなかったじゃなきゃ収まるもんも収まらないだろう
Warned you of what? What I have to warn you of?
二度と新興味に戻らなければ放っておくつもりだったが戻ってきた以上殺すしかない
まだらめがあんたを殺す気だ。俺とあいつを撃ったからな。
At this, his eyes narrowed.
思い出したのか
I didn't answer. He gazed at me pensively.
俺と一緒に来い村瀬もいずれ俺のところへ来ることになる
どういう意味だ。
少し仕事を手伝ってもらおうと思ってな
断る。
即答か
He scoffed.
まだらめといいお前といいつくづく似た者同士だな
So
命知
horny.
らずの怖いものなしで平然と俺の誘いを断る
Listen, I remember more the way he treats Towa and all the other stuff going around rather than all those scenes. Not gonna lie, I forgot that half of them happened because I was focusing more of the actual things going on around it. I forgot, okay?
まだらめのついでに俺も始末して榊を裏切るつもりか。加賀の時みたい。
His expression went blank. Then his lips curled in a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes.
かわいそうだなお前は何も知らない榊はお前が思っているような男じゃないあいつはお前に対して後ろめたい思いがあるんだよなぜ抗争が起こったのか抗争で何があったのか当然あいつも知っているからな
Sakaki hiding something too? Or is Tono lying? Just then I heard footsteps approaching.
おとは
Long time no see!
あれ遠野さん珍しい取り合わせですねしかもこんなところで
Oh. I could see Garashi walking along them too. You should be happy to at least see them. Igarashi, papi, precious baby. Tono clacked his tongue and lowered the gun pointed at me.
遠野さん 何してるんすか？
Happy to see Maya, of course. Igarashi look at Tono in surprise.
偶然こいつを見かけたから声をかけただけだ。
Sure. With that, Tono rolled up his window and drove off. Igarashi watched him go, then let go a big sigh of relief.
遠野さんやっべえ、すげえ緊張した。
遠野さんは四六時中怪しいからな。
わかる、腹黒いって感じだよ。
僕たち実は村瀬クリニックへ行こうとしてたんですよ。トワさんの顔でも見に行こうかって感じで。
ここであったから目標達成だな。
っていうかレイさんから聞いてたんすけど、トワさん。
Igarashi lowered his voice with a serious look on his face.
マダラメさんに捕まってたって話、本当なんですか？マダラメさん、やっぱり生きてたってことですよね。
マダラメさんが生きてた？
What？ マジで？
本当だ。
そうなんすね。本当に生きてたんすね。
Igarashi smiled in amazement.
ああ、生きてたのか。そりゃすげえな。
すごいね。
ですね、驚きました。
Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji all tuned into two, but none of them seemed as excited as Igarashi.
でも何のために戻ってきたんでしょうね。
なんなんすかね。
I don't remember the exact date, but I suppose maybe more than 5 years. I don't remember if it was mentioned, but I have the feeling that it was something more than like 5-7 years or so, maybe.
高里組を潰しに来たんじゃねえのか？組長が死んで榊さんと遠野さんが本格的に火花散らしてるしな。
You will find out.
クミがガタついてるところに戻ってきたならタイミングバッチリよ。
あまりにもタイミングが良すぎるって話ですけどね。
トーノが新しい薬を作ってるって話知ってるか？
新しい薬？
Kotaro frowned.
なんだそりゃ。
新しいビジネスを始めるつもりらしい。
はあはあ、古い体制を崩壊させるチャンスってことですね。遠野さん、昔からずっと言ってましたもんね。組の伝統を重んじるやり方は古いって。遠野さんの最近の動きが妙だって話は聞いてますけど、トワさん、それって誰から聞いたんですか？
マダラメだ。
マダラメさんか。
I can't talk, hold on. Eiji put a hand to his chin in contemplation.
遠野さんが本格的に動き出したら榊さんと戦争起こっちゃうね。
間違いなくやるだろ。つーか、それ狙いだろ。
トワさん、それ榊さんに連絡しましたか？
Igarashi looked at me, flustered.
いや、
俺から言っときましょうか。結構ヤバい情報みたいだし。
言わなくていい。それで榊がすぐに動いたらそれこそ戦争になる。
まあそうですよね。
Eiji nodded, his hand still pressed to his chin.
俺が戻ったってことだけ伝えてくれ。
わかりました。
Igarashi straightened his posture and saluted me like a soldier.
よし。んじゃ、クリニックまで送ってくわ。
Kotaro slung an arm around my shoulder and pulled me close.
そうしようそうしよう。
わざわざ送らなくても。
どうせこの後予定もないからな。
俺もお供します。
I will probably have to end the stream soon because he's being noisy again. Just like that, they engulfed me in a rollier's room and escorted me back to the clinic. Or maybe not, they are going out. Maybe I can stream for longer. Never mind. I can talk for now, so hold on. The group and I parted ways just outside the clinic. Back by a barmaid, I pulled off my coat, flopped down on the sofa, and stared at the ceiling. I didn't feel like doing anything. I didn't even switch on the TV. Instead, I lay there in the same silence I used to despise. I was too busy trying to figure out how to shake the restlessness that plagued me everywhere I went. I was starting to take a toll of my mental health. Just now? Is just starting to do that? Just now? I could no longer figure out what it was that I wanted, and no amount of thinking led me to the answer. Naturally, this was a very draining process, so I stared up at the ceiling like I was dead inside. As my mind blurred like a kaleidoscope, I thought back to what Ray said to me in the deathmatch. I was not Madame's little pet dog. I was just struggling to get over him, that's all. I just needed a little more time to go back to my girl self. Eventually, I could forget about Madarame and readjust to my life with Ray and Taku. He looks so sad. But the harder I tried to convince myself, the more I started thinking about Madarame's wicked grin. Shaking the image from my mind, I rose to my feet. They are not gone, but I want to proceed slowly. Then I reached out, grabbed my sketchpad off the coffee table and flipped to a blank page. Not because I consciously wanted to draw, my body just grabbed it on autopilot. Mindlessly, I traced dark lines on the white canvas. My pencil started to... We'll have to edit the vote, nice! My pencil started slow at first. Then I began to pick up speed and strength until I was practically sliding at the paper. Slashing at the paper. It was like my hand had a mind on its own. The lines curved back and forth, giving shape to the silhouette of a human figure. And the figure was Madarame, but it wasn't clear at a glance. I was just sketching an outline of body parts. Half of the page was buried in graphite. The pencil danced and swung until the tip turned, and nearly punctured a hole in the paper. I sketched in silence, packing up all my frustrations onto the page. Then I hear a knock at the door. It snapped me back to reality for a second, but then I went back to my sketch.
とわいた。急にお店を出て行っちゃったからどうしたのかと思って。
Ray walked in, noticed that he was drawing, and went quiet. He watched me work for a while, then backed out of the room and softly shut the door.
Toa, 体調はどうだ?
Did I read that or was I muted? I don't know anymore. I keep muting just in case. I just kept thinking back to everything Madarame said. That man is deceiving you. Just then, my hand fell still. Try as might to ignore it. It kept haunting me. So I figured I might as well ask him myself. Muted, damn it. At least it was only a line. They left! I'm free! Okay! I can keep going. In peace. I set my sketchpad and pencil down on the sofa, rose to my feet and walked over to Taku, who looked at me in alarm.
何を隠してる?
何の話だ?
Peace. Yay! I only have to edit some tiny bits, I guess. Let's go.
Oh my.
You are lying to me, aren't you?
嘘って?
Lying? About what?
ポジティブ。だから。
Someone told me you are deceiving me.
ああ。言えよ。
Now spit it out already.
なんだ?
What? Hurry up.
なあ。
Don't play dumb.
ネガティブ。おい。
You really want me to say it?
どうした? とは。
あのな。
I talked to Tono.
そうだ。
He said you are going to be helping him with his work.
ポジティブ。聞かせろ。
What are you helping with?
よし。さて。
What are you trying to achieve?
ああ。呆れるな。
You are giving me the silent treatment act?
それは違う。
ダメか。
Can't you tell me?
ネガティブ。わかるよな。
Guess I know how to interpret the silence then.
ああ。はあ。
Are you acting like this to make me beg?
何が言いたいんだ?
ああ。
You can read that line of your own.
ああ。
Madarame told me you had been lying to me. He did?
お前は
And you believe him?
ポジティブなあ
If you can prove he's lying, go for it.
お前は
So you have more to say than that. Suffer with me.
そうなんだろ
You're not going to tell me, are you?
ネガティブダメだな
After this, I never believe in a thing you say, past, present, or future.
ああ無理だ
I don't want to hear another word from you.
と
There is a reason, though.
タクが隠してるのはタクの嘘俺に嘘をついてたのか
嘘といえばそうだな。お前の過去についてずっと偽ってきた。事故に遭った後の放心したお前があまりにもかわいそうで新しい記憶を吹き込んだんだ。幸せな記憶を何度も何度も繰り返し話して聞かせた。だが問題はないはずだ。お前にとって悪いことは何もない。
嘘をついてたって話は本当だったな。
もういいか。
ああ。
それじゃあ戻るぞ。
And with that, he walked out. I stared blankly around the room. Then I started craving nicotine, so I grabbed my coat and dug through the pockets. When I pulled out my cigarette, something else fell to the floor. The Zippo lighter. It felt like a punch to the face. I picked it up, pulled it on my coat, and left the room. This just wasn't right. When I saw the lighter, my worst suspicions were confirmed. I didn't belong here. It was too late for me to go back to the way I used to be. Reuniting with Madarame. He reminded me of the way things were when we were together, and that was what I truly wanted. No. I walked out through the back entrance. Gazing up at the dark, standing sky, I took a deep breath, then exhaled. Stagnant sky. Then I faced forward and pursed my lips together. I knew where I was headed. Please send me a link, okay? Though, if it's an official product and it was already out, I don't even want to think of the aftermarket price it might have. I have no business here. I have no business here. Well, let me... Like, you know there is an art book. It's a waste of time. Absolutely nothing. A motor park, yes. There is an art book of the game, right? And they actually make a re-release of it some weeks ago. Before that, you could only find it on the aftermarket. And I think the price for the book was like 20 to 30 euros or something like that. Aftermarket, The most cheap that you can find is between 50 to 70 euros or USD. The most expensive I have ever saw was like 120. So aftermarket is not nice. As I was walking down a narrow alley, I tripped over something. I stunned, but managed to regain my balance.
おいちょっと待ってよ
I hear an snoring voice and turned to find a man sitting off the side. Gonna be so surprised. I don't think you should be happy about that. I might have tripped over his outstretched legs in the darkness. He seemed to be drunk. He pushed himself up with both hands, then walked over.
てめえ人のこと蹴っ飛ばしておいて無視かよなんか言うことやないのか
He invaded my personal space and clapped me on the shoulder. But it was that moment that I realized. His eyes were as sharp as attack. He was only pretending to be drunk. I nodded his hand away and tried to walk off.
おい聞いてんのか
Then, out of nowhere, he looked at me.
あれ
You want a tapestry from the merch lot, right? Yep. It's on the way. I dodged, then buried my fist in his gut. He doubled over. I swept his feet out from under him and he hit the ground. As he lay on his back, I stomped on his stomach, then bent over to look him in the eye. Only before that one, yeah. The aftermarket for usually anything related to natural games, it's crazy. When I was trying to collect the art books of Dramatical Murder plus the 10th anniversary ones, you don't want to know how much I spent on that. You don't want to know.
遠野かそれとも榊か
He gritted his teeth and turned his face away. Since he had no intention of telling me, I pulled my foot away from his gut and kicked him in the jaw. He hurt his back, then curled into a fetal position. After that, I lost interest and continued on my way. He was probably sent to spy me in disguise, though I couldn't be sure whether Tono or Sakaki was behind it. As I walked, I felt a dark thrill in my chest. Now this was right for me. The thrill of inflicting violence, and the thrill of receiving it in return. This was what I wanted, the sensation of my blood frothing in my veins. I recalled Madarame's wicked grin. As much as I hated to admit it, I belonged with him. No, you don't! He was the only person who could offer me this life. When in my fist, I stalked down the alleyway. Just then, something akin to pale flower petals flared down in front of my face. I looked up and realized that the snow was falling. Only then did I realize just how cold it was outside, but I ignored it and kept walking. As I approached the bridge, I could feel the vibrant city life in the air. Not long ago, until I reached my destination. No, not long now, until I reach my destination. I can't wait for the tapestry. I can't wait. It was shipped some days ago, like 2 to 3 days ago, so in a week or so it will arrive. Before now, I tend to ignore the hustle and bustle of the city, but as I approached the street, the noise came rolling in thickly. Voices grunting on my nerves. My pace quickened in an effort to escape it. Takes long in my experience, depending on District C. Depending on what like method of shipping you choose. For me, it's from usually around 2 weeks or 1 week and a half, and the package is here already. I got through the loud clamor of District D and into District C. As I closed the distance between myself and Madarame, I could feel my restlessness grow stronger and stronger. Willing the discomfort to settle, I sucked in a lungful of cold air and silently continued my nighttime excursion. Why can't we go here? Also, like, look at the map. This part, it's so small. Or, like, it looks so depressing. Yes. As I was walking, I hear speedy footsteps approaching from behind.
Toa!
Then someone shouted my name. I look over my shoulder to find Raya and Taco standing there. They were both out of breath.
トア、どこへ行くの？
Rayton was bleeding.
散歩だよ。
Yeah, surely.
でもそっちはデスマッチエリアの方向よね。デスマッチ嫌いでしょ。なのにどうして行くの？まだらめに会いに行くの？
Also, there is this one fact that Madarame is linked to Blonde Towa, and that is extremely cursed. And every time you, like, I tried to look for fan arts or whatever with Madarame, he's always blonde, and I hate it so much because he looks so weird. It's cursed. Blonde Towa. It's so cursed. I cannot. My silence made his brown frown deeply. Yeah, he does. It doesn't fit him at all. I glanced at them, then turned and started walking.
ダメ、トア、どうして？なんで行こうとするの？行っちゃダメよ。
トア！
I could hear the anguished screams. But as I kept walking, it faded into the distance. The desperation could no longer reach me. I had realized who I truly was. And I was not the kind of person who belonged with them. Lies. I belong somewhere else. I was about to say something, but, well, it's not that big of a... You need therapy, my boy! You need therapy! You don't belong with such a toxic dude. You need therapy! Slipping through the shadow of narrow alleyways, I made my way through the ghost town until I arrived at a familiar building. From the outside, it was hard to tell whether he was even in there. Maybe he had moved his hideout elsewhere. I entered the building and climbed the stairs. Then I came to a stop outside the room I remembered to be Madarame's. Before I opened the door, I took a deep breath. He looks so beaten up. You need therapy, not being with that dude. Reflexively, I swallowed. This is like Stockholm syndrome and toxic relationship, the root. Then I twisted the knob and the door opened. I walked in and stopped short. The first thing that ended my vision was Madarame. Just like the day I left, he was lying in his chair. His arms were folded, and he was smiling, almost like he had known I was coming. As I sat there, frozen, he got his head smugly.
冒険は楽しかったか?
His smoke swelled slowly. His tone suggested he had always known I would come back. And he was right. He knew full well that their world wouldn't be enough for me. Copy. I have a few memes from Madarame's route that I can show off at the end of the stream, maybe. Rage exploded inside me. Until this moment, I was so eager to be with him again, but now that I was here, I didn't know how to feel anymore. Time and time again, his arrogance suggested to me that he thought he could control me, but most infuriated of all, I walked right into it every time. You cannot tell me this is a healthy relationship. Hitting my teeth, I charged at him. With all my strength, I smacked my fist, but of course he dodged easily, then punched back. I hit the ground hard, and a moment later he climbed on top of me. Don't make me censor again, please. I tried to push him off, but he didn't back. He grinned down at me.
そろそろ戻ってくるだろうとは思っていたが、なかなか面白いタイミングだな。
He grabbed my hand, brought it to his lips, and bit down on my fingers. Why are you so horny?
もうすっかり思い出したんだろう。お前はこっち側の人間なんだってこと。お前が欲しいのは楽しい友達ごっこか。違うだろう。痛みと苦しみ、互いの皮膚に牙を突き立てて血をすすり合うような、そういう興奮。
His whisper sounded almost seductive. I squeezed my eyes shut. Please, give me a break. He was completely right too, which infuriated me all the more. Everything Madarame just said, I wanted it. I craved it. No, please. Suddenly, I couldn't breathe. My eyes flew open. Madarame was grinning and showing me with both hands. His grip closed in front of both sides of my neck, constricted my throat. I tried to break his hands off, but then he pressed his lips to mine. His tongue forced its way in, wetting my teeth open. I tried to resist, but in my struggle to breathe, I couldn't keep my mouth closed. With my lips open, I was almost completely deprived of oxygen. Meanwhile, he teased my mouth with his tongue like he didn't even notice. Don't make me censor again. Don't make me censor again. Don't make me censor again. His mama again. His grip slowly grew tighter and tighter until my mind started to go hazy. At this rate, I was going to pass out or die. As I ruminated on this, another sensation rose along with the pain. It was too faint to be pleasure, more of a tingle. But as it spread, the pain became comfortable, then downright enjoyable. My brain was screaming for oxygen, and yet, paradoxically, it felt good to have my airways blocked. As my vision went wide and hazy, I felt oddly floaty. When my tongue, I'm like, please don't. I'm so scared of having to censor. When my tongue stopped moving, he licked it with his own. Then he explored the rest of my mouth. Please, guys. The feeling made my head spin. I couldn't breathe, and it was. I guess if you're into this route is your thing, but sounds so weird. What would happen if he choked my guts out? I was in agony, and it felt so good. I wanted more. But just then Madarame let go. Reflexively, my lungs gasped for oxygen, and I coughed hard. I had experienced my fair share of choking during sex, but before now it was only ever uncomfortable. Something about the way Madarame did it was different. You know, when you are playing on your own, you don't think too deeply about some stuff, but when I'm playing it right now, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this dude is so horny. Like, dude. As I gasped for breath, he started rolling for. I guess I will censor again, whatever. Oh my fucking god. There we go. Jesus Christ. Oh, you can get another face, Alex. You can get another one. It's just insane. It is. You can have another face. The same thing. Ay, por amor de Dios. The way that in the other routes they made prep work, and in this one he just goes straight in. I'm so sorry for Tono was bad right now. He's choking him again. I mean, I can technically show this because there is no dick. I can technically show it. Okay, for a short. There we go. Yeah. Are they done? A single thought rose to the front of my heavy mind. I was right, this is where I belong. I didn't want warm affection. I wanted to be thrown away by a vicious storm. And now that I had reunited with Madarame, there was no going back to the old me. Are they done? You cannot play the jazzy music right after that. You cannot play this now. Are they going to keep going? I slowly turned my head looking for a certain something. It was lying forgotten on the floor short distance away. I guess they are done, please. Por amor de Dios.
なんだ
My gaze was pointing at the collar and chain. They arrested the thief device that had once kept me trapped here. How many times have you, like, changed your profile picture today? 3 times? But
お
now...
前に首輪はもういらないだろう。戻ったら外すと言ったのを忘れたか。
If you go back, I will set you free. Apparently, I realized what he meant was I went back to the old me. The cut on my neck started to ache, so I reached to touch it. Reached up to touch it. It was scrabbled over and about halfway healed. I looked up at Madarame. Silently, our eyes met. Just then, I felt a vibration through the floor. It was coming from my coat. I tried to get up, but fell back to my knees. I wonder why. Madarame rose to his feet, grabbed my coat, and pulled out my phone. That's a lot of faces. Ray was calling.
出ないのか。
Without hesitation, I turned my phone off and tossed it onto the floor. I got it and he suckled at me.
来い。
Not again. I'm begging you, please. Be normal, not be horny for 1 minute, please. When I finally got to my feet, he grabbed my arm and put me close, and clawed my head against his chest. As I neared to his heartbeat, I slowly closed my eye. I could never go back, nor did I want to. I'm panicking so hard right now. Okay. I guess I will go for a bit more. And we will end it there for today. What is this? This is the route you wanted to see so much. And so I went back to my life with Madarame. He started moving his idol a lot more often. And from morning until evening, we go out. He will go out by himself. But I have no intention of pressing him for details. Instead, I sat and waited his return. Thought this time I wasn't chained to anything. The plot? I hope soon. In addition to food and drinks, we got some plot in between all that stuff. We got some. In addition to food and drinks, the table more frequently featured booze and smokes too. I didn't know where Madarame got all this stuff, but I gladly helped myself. I just lit a cigarette between my lips and lit it with the red and silver Zippo lighter. I took a long, slow drag and watched the sky change color beyond the glassless windows. Hours upon hours of drinking, smoking, and watching the sky. Such a boring life. Before I knew it, the pad was nearly empty, and the ashtray on the floor was full of cigarette butts. After I exhaled the last lungful of smoke, I reached out to take the bottle of booze on the table. But just then I heard a suspicious noise. The sound was faint, but the room was so quiet I could hear it loud and clear. I put the bottle back on the table and listened carefully. Sure enough, near the door I could hear what sounded like the crunch of gravel underfoot. Then the door slowly opened to reveal, not Madarame, but a man I didn't recognize. He peered constantly into the room, then stepped inside and slowly spotted me.
Huh? お前
Instantly, the blood drained from his face. He whipped his cell phone out of his jacket pocket along with a gun, which he pointed at me. Meanwhile, he used his other hand to place a gun on his phone.
いました。はい。そうです。顔に傷のある男が。
Busted. Madarame wasn't here, so it was on my own. I contemplated what to do.
はい。すぐお願いします。
He handed the phone, then stuffed it back onto his pocket, all without lowering the gun.
今仲間が来るからな。動くんじゃねえぞ。トーノか。うるせえ、喋るな。
Gripping the gun with both hands, he glared at me suspiciously. We froze in that position for a long time, maybe half an hour, until finally the sound of footsteps came racing up the stairs. Then the door flew open, revealing relief. The gunman looked over his shoulder. But as it happened, I recognized these latecomers.
ようとは
東だ。
お久しぶりですね。
Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji all greeted me like it was just another day. Come to think of it, I had forgotten that they worked for the Takasato Bumi.
悪いな、とは。
Smirking, Kotaro jerked his chin. The guy with the gun sneered at me too. I was hoping the trio would cut me some slack, but apparently not. Just as I thought, they were going to tie me up.
やった。
あ
Mayu grabbed both of the guy's wrists and slapped handcuff on him.
何を
As the guy panicked, Mayu kicked his legs out from under him and knocked him to the floor. Then started looking around the room.
あ、ちょうどいいのあるよ。
Like a child, gleefully discovering a toy, he pointed at the collar sent it to the pillar.
小太郎、あれ取って。
あエイジ、お前行けよ。
Reluctantly, Eiji went and fetched the collar.
ありがと
Mayu took it from him and put it on the guy's neck.
おい、何なんだよこれは。
な、そのうち誰かが助けに来るだろ。
As I watched in confusion, the three of them grinned mischievously.
実は全部知ってたんです。
And I think we are going to finish it there for today. We are going to leave it there for today. Tachan, the plot twists. I'm so conflicted. What are your thoughts? Aside from the absurd amount of horniness of this route so far. What are your thoughts? Let me look for the memes now that I'm at this. Let me look up for the memes. I actually like it beyond the absolutely insane amount of money. It be like that sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Let me images, stuff, save. Like I mentioned earlier, I had some understanding of Madame's motivation from the ending themes. Also, I may have to quickly go to the bathroom. Usually whenever I finish these streams, oh hi there Serto, I rushed over to the bathroom because I want to show you some of the memes I have with Madame's route. I cannot wait. Hold on. Chat with each other for a moment, okay? Be right back. Okay. Okay, I'm back. I'm downloading I will go back to download the memes now. Sorry. I guess like that. It's weird the way it's organized stuff. Save. They just print. I did, yes. Yep. Open. Save. Save. Okay. Wait. Oh no. Oh no. I accidentally closed the tab in which I have opened the stream, like to end the stream. I accidentally closed that. Hold on. My bad. That's fine. Back, title menu, yes. This. Okay. Okay. Here. Okay, I think I got the memes. I have 3. Let me see if I have saved them properly. Picture. Meme 1. Accept. Examine. Stuff. Where are they? This, it's beautiful. I can fix him, says the man who is worse. We have one there. Meme 2. Examine. Are you doing circle? Where is the other one? The fact that I can say who is who. Rip, I was always into you. Worst confession ever. You are not dead, I lied. You are nothing to me. Second one. And last one that I can show so far. Meme 3. Examine. But can we be toxic again? Shut the fuck up, Badge. This is them, and you cannot tell me otherwise. This is the... This encapsulates the whole relationship so well. It's so fun. But yeah, there are a bunch of things that I was like, okay, this is what I was expecting, because I checked the demo of the game before it came out. So I know that this whole shit with Towa with a collar and not being able to leave was something that was going to happen. And I was looking forward to see how they were going to play out this, because in Togai no Nochi there is a route that is very, very, very similar. Like, Togai no Nochi and Slow Damage have a lot of things more in common that you may think at first, and there is a route that it's very similar in the sense that there is a character that also kidnaps the main character and leave it in a room, and it becomes basically a factory for the other character to play with. It's basically the same, but it play off like the ending. It's so disappointed. And I was like, okay, maybe in this game it will be Shiki 2.0, but properly made, I guess. But no, it was just Shiki 2.0, the same shit all over again. And yeah, who is the Shiki? Shiggy was a bit different than I thought, more possessive and abusive than I thought. He is a lot more of a free spirit and not care. Hell no. He doesn't care about a lot of stuff, but he cares about his seed, and he considers Towa his seed. It's him, it's his. And so, like, again, it's very similar to that route. Like, the ending is very different, but the way they treat the protagonist, it's very similar. And now that I think about it, the bad ending, like Shiki in Togaino no Chi have, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 endings. Like, he has more than the other characters, and there is one that it's very similar to the bad ending with Madarame, in a sense. The protagonist ends up in a similar state of mind. I don't know how to explain it. So it's very similar, and I didn't enjoy Shiki's route that much, and Madarame is kind of the same. But if you have into account what I know about Towa, and you see what he's doing to the poor thing, it's like, fuck off, dude. Go back to the dead. Motivation and current goals, instead of just being about his obsession with Towa. Yeah, now that the trio have shown up and that... Hold on. They have known, like, when they said earlier, when Towa told them that Madarame was alive and they didn't act surprised in the slightest, it was for a reason. They knew. I won't say anymore, but, like, when I was seeing those lines and, like, the voice acting, it's like, damn, they are such bad liars. It's a good thing that I don't have full track model, because the amount of times I'm going through one part of the game and like, oh damn. With things like that, at least I don't give those away that easily, I guess. But yeah. See you next time, hopefully to finish maybe both the bad ending and the good ending. Maybe. I don't think there is that much left. I think. I'm not sure how long. There is 1, 2... Yeah, there are 2 interrogations left, which I'm pretty sure it goes in one, and after that it's the ending. So it shouldn't take that long, and maybe we can have both in one. Are we that close? I think... I mean, there is still some explanation to do and things that, yeah. But I think it should be enough for at least another 3 hours, maybe. We know so little, yeah. And you won't discover all of it until we are done with Fujiera's route. The elusive lawyer that we see for like 2 frames every route. Soon. Okay, what? Oh, they are very horny, okay? They are very toxic to each other. Anyways, bye bye. I will now edit the tiny bit in which I think you were able to hear Papa sneak a lot. And then I will go rest. My neck hurts. Anyway, see you in 2 days. Bye bye.